And we're back for another Gab with Abigail. If you are back and this is your first time on my channel, hi, welcome to Gabs with Abigail, where we talk about the Bates and Duggars and other D-list fundies. In today's video, we are having a much overdue catch up with the Rodrigues family. Every time I've gone to record to this video, I just haven't had the energy, and I'm also kind of grateful because I feel like every time I wait, I'm about to film, I'm like, oh no, I'm not gonna do it. Jill posts something that is just I'm so happy that I didn't say anything yet. First and foremost, our good sis Nehemiah had her baby. And so naturally, because Jill hurt her knee at the same time, I know more about this knee injury than I do about this infant. But let's get into it. So she had her baby, who they named Nehemiah David Keller. So obviously the middle name David is homage to Neri's father, and then also that her husband, Nathan, right? Yeah. Everybody has the same name. It's like catching up to me. That's literally what I'm about to make my next point about. But Nathan's brother is named David as well, and they're pretty close. But then also, the name Nehemiah, okay? The name Nehemiah is a biblical name. And remember, I had my video. I said, what do we think she's going with? And she went with the biblical name. Not surprised. We know she's a warrior for Jesus. Jill raised her right? I said Jill doesn't have any sons who don't have biblical names. But it's the fact that Nehemiah is already a name that one of Nathan's siblings' kids have. So his older sister, Esther, again, I have a whole video about the Kellers, but his older sister, Esther, has 12 or 13 kids, and one of them is named Nehemiah already. But I guess when you're having that many kids and you're giving them all biblical names, there's only but so much supremacy, the chokehold, the grip that she has on those names because she has so many freaking kids. So I can understand why they are doubling back. Because Esther clearly was only leaving them with Nebuchadnezzar as a baby name that they could use, all right? Anyway, but yes, they named the baby Nehemiah. Cute little baby, nothing else to say about that. Chilling, he's a newborn, he's an infant, can't really, not much else to report there. But also very exciting news for Neri and Nathan is that they got their first house. That's super, super exciting. They've been living in a trailer on the Keller parents' compound of land. So I'm just really excited for her. How wonderful that must seem, your first baby, and then you have this house that you're establishing where you're going to have all of these special memories with this family that you're building for the first time in your life, and all this adult responsibility of managing a house and all of that. I just think that's so exciting, and I'm super excited for her. And yeah, just I'm happy for them again. That is the theme of how we want to talk about the Rodrigues children, is that they are deserving of things. Toxic beliefs aside, they are deserving of things. But getting back to Miss Jill Rodrigues. So naturally, her daughter is having her firstborn child. So of course, this was very much about her. I want to say I never wanted to be one of the people, there is the online discussion, basically, the commentary that Jill is a narcissist. And I don't want to say that because I feel like I'm not a doctor, so I don't really have any place to be diagnosing her with some kind of illness. And it is an actual medical, or psychological, whatever, illness. But the birth of Neri's baby into the last couple of months have been very much giving those vibes I really see why people say this about you, hun. I really do see it. Starting first and foremost with the birth of Neri's baby. I will give her the credit that, yes, definitely she did talk, I'm not going to say she didn't talk a lot about Neri, didn't talk a lot about the baby. But it's just other little things that are these are so classically toxic Jill Rodrigues. First of all, that I wants to be called Mimi because she's a young grandma. I'm just being a hater because that's what my mother goes by for her grandchildren, is Mimi. I just feel like I don't want to be related and connected to you like that, Jill. And also just the vanity in that. Oh, Jill, you're too good to be called grandma. As a Christian woman, like, should you care about aging and sounding old? Now, I'm just being bitchy because obviously my mom is a Christian woman too. But, so it's the post about Janessa, right? Where she's like, P.S. Yes, Janessa came with me to Florida. I couldn't bear to leave my baby for 2 weeks. Like, we get that you were disappointed that you weren't on the fertility train this last go around, but we didn't need to hear about your little baby 3-year-old while you're embracing your new grandson. Like, we don't care. We don't care. Okay. Like, and to me, I think what was so annoying about this, like, oh, I couldn't bear to be away from my baby for 2 weeks. She makes it very clear that due to this knee injury that she had, which was from her falling down the steps, by the way, at their house, at her house, that she can't do much. So, like, you brought this other child to be, I don't want to say a burden, because that's a little harsh. But the reality is that other people, you were going to have to rely on other people to help take care of her. Which I'm sure anybody hearing this is like, well, she has to rely on them any other time, right? Facts. Big facts. But I still just think, like, I just feel like it's weird that you're framing it this way. I couldn't bear to be away from my baby for 2, like I said, with this knee injury, you can't even take care of her. Like, I can't with Joe, like, with my baby. Like, I just can't. It's inappropriate, Joe. But then the true piece de resistance, okay, of the narcissism to me was when they go on this, like, boat trip. They do, like, some kind of excursion, and they're both in this wheelchair. It's like Jill said, and let's just read it. Yes, Nuri and I both had to be pushed in wheelchairs due to my knee injury and Nuri recovering from giving birth and the difficult healing process there. Why did this have to be shared with us? Why did we need to know that you guys were both in a wheelchair? And I just feel like it's the situation where it's like, well, yes, right now couldn't be about me. Yes, right now I couldn't have a baby too, like me and Nuri were hoping. But me and my bestie were at least able to still bond by sharing this wheelchair moment. Like, people were able to see us both kind of injured. Like, it's weird. It's a little bit weird. Like, I don't understand why you had to share photos of this. Like, it's weird. It feels attention seeking. Like, that you went out and, like, it's just, it's weird and it feels attention seeking. And I'm sure it's really mundane. It's really regular. But on Jill Rodrigues, it feels extra, you know, like, it feels attention seeking. Like, it just does. And I'm not saying, obviously, I'm sure she did not fall down the steps at her house on purpose to have an injury while she's going to visit her kid. Like, this isn't somebody who I think has health insurance. So I'm sure that wasn't her plan and intention. And I'm sure she wanted to be more mobile to be able to help her firstborn child with her firstborn grandchild. But this is doing too much, hun. This is doing too much. Like, and I just felt like, in general, why do I know more about your knee injury than I do about this baby? Also, we got a visit from Lydia Plath of the Plaths, iconic. Came to visit, see her best friend Renee, see the new baby. I'm glad that they maintain a friendship. I'm happy that they have each other and that. It sounds like Hosanna, who we never see on the Plath show and everything like that, is still very close to Nuri, and I hope that is a true friendship that's enduring. So, good to have friends, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Even if it is, you know? And then there's Jill being transphobic, unprovoked. No, I'm kidding. It was a little provoked. But I'm sure, I think what was just to me annoying about this post is, of course, whatever. What's annoying about this post is that most likely they have this because they find this argument annoying. Meaning like that this is probably a unisex bathroom. Only one person can go into it at once. And that they're probably just making the kind of funny joke of like this whole debate about gender is kind of getting annoying in that, and like in terms of how we're just like this obsession with the bathroom. This is a singular unisex bathroom. Just go in. You know what I mean? And of course, we need to get something annoying and transphobic. Like, just go use the fucking bathroom. Like, it's really not that deep. It's really not that deep, babe. Nuri had these beautiful maternity photos, which I loved, actually. Super pretty. This black and white one, yeah. It's giving what it was supposed to give. All right, and then Jill had these photos of her crying when they left seeing the baby, which I just want to say, like, just universally, it's just not it's not a good look to record yourself, to take pictures of yourself crying and post it. Why? Like, in some situations and scenarios, I understand. Like, when people make videos on YouTube and you're talking about something and you cry, I think that makes perfect sense on why you would post that. Like, that makes sense. That to me makes sense. But to take photos of yourself crying, selfies, and then post them to garner sympathy so people could be like, oh, look at you, this tender-hearted grandma who loves you. Like, we didn't see all this, Jill. We really didn't. I'm glad you're an emotional grandma. I'm glad you love the kid. Like, I just feel like it's just kind of, it's a little bit attention seeking when you take photos of yourself crying and post them. It just is. It's a little bit attention seeking, okay? It is. I'm sorry if you disagree, but it is. Also, the Rodrigueses are coming out with a CD. Super excited. Jill, I'm still waiting for the book. So 2022 better not disappoint me. I've got a lot of expectations, a lot of excitement that I'm feeling. And your book and your CD are two things on that list. So please do not disappoint the fans. Next thing I'm going to talk about is Jonathan and Kaylee's courtship. So Jonathan came to visit for Christmas while Nuri and Nathan were there as well. Was it Christmas? It was Thanksgiving right before Christmas. And came for like 2 weeks or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And apparently, okay, so first of all, that I think it's a big family thing to like just be competitive, but also like the whole like Nuri is the more favored child versus like Kaylee and any of the other kids. I just feel like these last couple of months that's really jumped out. I don't know if it's because Nuri just had the baby, so they're just feeling super close and bonded, but like we had the "Oh, me and Nuri are best friends" post, or maybe it was a post from Nuri to her mother, because those happen all the time. And then, so Nathan goes back to the gym where Jonathan had, like, we got that infamous video of him doing the bench press. And I don't know if it's because Nathan is just not, conventionally attractive. I'm going to say it. All right, that it didn't feel as much of a defrauding as Jonathan's video. So I feel like, well, yes, Nathan was able to bench press more. Jonathan is who, in fact, did make our panties wet. So in that vein, I mean, Kaylee, I feel like you have the winner. But in good courtship news, that Jonathan is going to be moving closer to where the Rodrigueses live, because it's Kaylee's desire to live close to the family after she gets married, which isn't something you can necessarily choose. You're right. Your partner has to be willing to agree to that. And I think it's wonderful that he is actually making the steps to do that, because God knows that this was me. I'm not trying to stay closer to, I'm the in-law. I'm not trying to stay closer to Jill Rodriguez, which I feel like that he's willing to do that and like get this job and try to establish himself over where they live, either means that he really likes Kaylee this much, which I hope, obviously, and or that Jill maybe isn't as overbearing and annoying as we think IRL, but also he could just really, really like Kaylee. I think that's interesting that I don't want to say interesting. I don't think it's weird. that she wants to be able to stay close to her family and her siblings. They've grown up really insulated, like insular. So I can imagine, and that also like they're sister moms to their siblings. So wanting to be able to go over there a lot and visit when you're that kind of close. So that's exciting that she's going to be able to get that experience still, that in terms of what she wants in a partner, that it looks like Jonathan is fulfilling those desires. And I think that's wonderful. We want to encourage happy, healthy relationships as much as possible. With the whole courtship thing, that's why I said I do think I don't want to ever downplay how much the couples do like each other. I do think some like that hopefully their courtships are more akin to the Duggars and the Bates, where it's like you do get to choose a partner for love. You know, like I would hope that they would have like broken up and not been in a courtship if this wasn't like their hearts weren't truly emotionally knit to each other. Like, this is a person that I can talk to, I can joke with and enjoy. So we're watching for the 2022 wedding that we foresee. Let's do a guess in the comments. Let me know, when do you think that they'll get engaged? When do you think that they'll get married for Kaylee and Jonathan? I'm going to say, I'm predicting, I don't know, I kind of could see Kaylee wanting to get like married on her parents' wedding anniversary, which is in October, to kind of be like a kiss ass since Nehemiah is the favorite. But we'll see. We shall see. I also kind of could see like Kaylee wanting to like get married and stuff like that. So I definitely think she'll have a baby quickly. Nothing wrong with that before anybody tries to get in my ass. And when I say anybody, I'm talking about Jill, and we'll get into that later. But I don't think there's anything wrong with having a baby right away if that's what you want. Like, obviously, I can't say it's what you want, it's what you've been conditioned to think how it should work. So, but I'm not going to deny anybody the right to life. All right. Pro-choice. Okay. Okay, so they finally finished the barn dominium. Love to see it. And the attic edition. It looks fantastic. They did do a really good job, and I'm so excited for them because it really does make their house now look complete, like an established, safe, warm place to live in terms of the amount of space that many amount of kids need. Like, it's nice to see that they have somewhere relaxing to sit and everything like that. Just genuinely, I will say these last couple of months, maybe just we'll say 2021, the Rodrigueses just look so much like happier. I don't know how to describe it. They look like just something in their spirit looks healthier and more whole. I don't know. And I hope that we see Jill is on her plexus grind. Like, if it's up, then it's stuck for her right now, you know? That she is one of the few people who is actually making money off of this. And I'm not team MLMs. I don't believe in MLMs. I am an anti-MLM person. But if she likes it, I love it. So if it's making the money that they need to be making, I'm here for it. Kaylee and Renee have a jewelry like business that they do, and I'm going to buy something. I'm going to buy something, and I'm going to wear them for all of my videos, and I will tell you guys when I buy it. Probably will order it in January. I don't want to share what it is because I don't want anybody to troll them. Barn Dominium is done. Like I said, they were like on a race to finish it in time for Thanksgiving so that they could host it. While I love that they have the space and everything, I have to say it is hideously decorated. Like, oh my goodness, I hate it. And I don't want to say that this is like, the way she has it decorated is like somebody's old grandma's thrift shop like vibe. And I know somebody is probably going to be like, well, they don't have a lot of money, so that's probably, no. Her house looks so cluttered. Like, that is like the style, the theme is clutter, and it drives me bonkers because they have 13 kids, 12 of whom are living at home, at least 11 of them who are living in that house full time. To have the amount of like just cluttering knickknacks that she has is so like, it's irritating to look at because it's like, how are you keeping shit in your house organized? I'm sorry. And I'm sure obviously there must be some kind of system of organization that does in fact work for them. in the midst of that, but like just the house just looks so cluttered, and it's like just with that many people, why would you want such a cluttered house? I don't want to get into it too much. I don't want to be too judgmental, but it's just so much clutter. I couldn't do it. Anyway, but that is finished. Again, excited for them. Do they not deserve to have that kind of space? Aren't we glad that David can do anything? God. Thanks for doing what needed to be done, sir. Okay. Now, I want to read this post, and then I want to discuss, and I want to retract something that I said in a previous video, actually. So, two things. I want to discuss this post and also a podcast that I listened to recently about Jill Rodrigues that got me thinking, let's get into it. So, Jill had this post. Please pray against the spiritual attack our family consistently bears. Sometimes the burden feels so heavy to carry, but we know we must count it all joy and give our burdens to the Lord and leave them there. 1 Peter 5, verse 7, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. And I just felt like, Jill, this is about me. Are you saying you've seen my videos, girl? I'm so flattered. Oh my god. my videos on them are like most watched videos. So it's like, Jill, is it being recommended to you, babe? Are you? I just think it's interesting that she said the spiritual attack our family consistently bears, because in my opinion, the overwhelming criticism for the Rodrigues family is for Jill Rodrigues. It's the fact that, obviously it's Rodrigues family ministry serving Jesus, whatever, that therefore everything in the family flows through you. And again, this idea of narcissism, and also this fundy idea that your kids are merely an extension of you. They belong to you. You possess them. They are your possession. They are not their own autonomous people, right? And so therefore an attack on Jill Rodrigues is an attack on every single one of her children. When, in a way, no. I feel like most criticism for Jill Rodrigues comes out of a concern for her kids and what her behaviors are like inflicting on them, how that is impacting them, how that is hurting them. So this idea of the spiritual attack against your family, when it's like, no, the criticism is for you, babe, and your husband. But obviously we know he doesn't speak. You're the mouthpiece, right? You are the social media and content creator. So to say that this is a spiritual attack against your family is interesting. I know, like I said, it makes sense. I'm not saying it's irrational, right? But really the criticism is for you, Jill, which, I mean, you're constantly trying to show us that you are in fact the star of this show. So I just think it's interesting that this is a spiritual attack on your family. But like I said, I want to take back a statement that I said in one of my videos. So let me continue reading about why I wanted to. Surprisingly, to be on social media is not our comfort zone. We prefer quiet and private. Yet Jill was posting herself crying over Nehemiah. Quiet and private. We push ourselves to share our lives with you, to be a light for Jesus. What did any of the posts about Jill's knee have to do with being a light for Jesus? Show us when it's healed. I can understand the one where the post that she made about David bringing her back, very on brand for Christianity, for women, and this to like big up your husband, say thank you to him. Like, I'm not going to say that you're wrong for that, and that other women should be looking for husbands who can serve them in that way and who love them in that way. Definitely, like, if your husband wouldn't do that kind of stuff, or your man, he probably isn't the one. Okay, sure, fine. But a couple other of these, how was this going to lead us to be a light and joy for Jesus? Why couldn't this stay in the vault? And the fact that the idea of we, to hopefully lead more to crossery, to the cross of Calvary, to encourage the saints. This idea of we, as if any of her kids have a choice to say, no, you may not post me. We prefer quiet and private, as though any of them have been given the kind of language to think that they have a choice in that, or to think if there's a day that you don't want to post or you don't want to be recorded, that you could say no, or that you're allowed to feel that way without it you being a sinner or feeling guilty or feel like you're not serving Christ for those regular, genuine feelings and emotions, right? I can't understand. So that's why, again, to me, this annoying idea of it being we are attacked as a family. It is you, Jill Rodrigues. You are the focal point of the attack and the commentary. Your kids can't jump without you. Right? So to pretend as though we are criticizing them when you don't offer them any choice is really weird. The choices that they have within their own lives, their own autonomy, is so minimal. Right? Even just the idea of how, like, you are under your father's authority and then passed on to your husband's. At what point do these kids have a choice to say no? Right? Nuri is able to, now that she's married, to say, to have that kind of control and not have her own social media to say, like, yes, actually, here's how I can be quiet and private. And to share the photos with her mother that, like, yes, you may post these to the family page. That's different. That's having a little bit more control and a little bit more ownership over yourself. But the fact that she had to get out of the house and get married to have that kind of autonomy, and is at a point where she wouldn't need convincing to let you do those things because you've trained her that way, right? To train up a child. So let's stop pretending that this is some collective decision that everybody came to together as a family. Like, you would post them regardless. Period. Like, so many of these posts, like, I get it, showing wholesome family goodness, and maybe that's supposed to encourage us to live this way and turn to Jesus. But oh my God, some of the things that Jill posts are so, like, girl, what? That it's like, who is this being supposed to be a light to Jesus for? Like, please, girl. Please, 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 please. Our family has been offered several times to be filmed, to have our own TV show, and we have always turned it down. Fame and control from a TV show as to what we can or cannot say has never been our goal. Okay. Only to lift up the name Jesus and proclaim truth from his word, the Bible, for he alone is worthy of praise and adoration. Also, Jill, you don't want to be well known. You don't want people to know who you are. But are recording a CD, writing a book, and travel frequently to church, and post on social media. All right, girl. All right. But okay. Some have asked why Nathan and Nuri do not have their own social media accounts, because that is what they have chosen to do, and we highly respect that. They enjoy allowing you all to glimpse into their lives through our social media platforms, and again, we highly respect and support that decision, and we would ask each of you to do the same. You know what? Is this about me, Joe? Should I not be posting about these them on your social medias? You know what? I don't feel like I fully read this before I filmed this video. And so maybe this is the last video that we will do on Nuri and Nathan. Which I don't care. Like, no offense. Like, it's not like you guys are doing anything super interesting. Jill is the star. So if you guys want to be left out of this, no problem, babies. I will respect that. Because you know what? You're right. You don't post or have any social media. And I think you do deserve that kind of privacy and respect that has never been given to you from your parents. So... and that's me to Nuri. Obviously, Nathan, his invasion of privacy has been being adjacent to Anna Keller. And that's no shade. Like, you know, what can you do about that? Pretty much. But you know what? You know what? This being said, we're going into 2022. Nathan and Nuri, I will talk about you guys very minimally on this channel. But what I wanted to take back from one of my own videos that Jill said, that this post maybe said, and then also listening to, well, there's a couple things from this podcast, but Leaving Eden, the video that they did about Jill Rodrigues, so good. I would definitely recommend listening to it. I feel like I learned so much. about it, especially because the girl, and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name right now, who does the podcast, or one of the people, she was in IFB, so she can kind of like really speak to this. It was good. But basically, in my video, in my last update video for like May, I think that's when I like published it, I said that the joy that the Rodrigues kids seem to have on camera seems so performative. And I want to take that back. And the reason why I want to take that back is because I do think that everybody puts on for the camera once you see that it's on you. Like, it's just kind of this natural thing that people do to kind of, once they see that they can't, like somebody is recording them on camera, kind of like you just want to make it seem like it's more lit and it's more fun, like whatever it is that you're doing. Like, it's almost like a natural human response at this point. So I don't want to say that it seems performative when it is something that everybody does. So I will say that. It's just that sometimes they seem just so like a little bit dead in the eyes, But like I said, they look really, really like happy and in good shape this year. So I don't even want to say all of that. So I do want to retract that, saying that their joy seemed performative. All right. Yeah, but so this post saying that, like, again, this our family consistently bears. And the narcissism of Jill Rodrigues, because I want to play this clip from Making Our Lives Count with Jill. And also, I just want to say that we have been making our life count for at least an hour and a half with Jill. We spent an hour and a half with Jill Rodrigues making our lives count. And yet, still, she insists that her children enjoy our private and quiet life, but they post to be a light for Jesus. Like, you could do all of the things that you do without having to post your kids. Like, that your Christianity relies on basically exploiting them is something that you should re-examine. She's not going to, obviously, because, again, this idea that your family is just an extension of you, that they belong to you entirely until they get married and leave the house. But this particular minute with Jill. So I'm re-recording this because apparently the mic wasn't plugged in. But I just spent like the last hour trying to find the post and I cannot find it. But basically it's like where Jill talks about love. Christians are always constantly being told, oh, that's not very Christian of you to not love everybody as they are, blah, 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 blah. And she talks about, oh, well, Christians are called to love everybody, but they aren't called to tolerate everything. And basically talking about like, oh, tolerance. And I thought this perfectly personifies, again, why your kids don't have any choice. When for you, despite this, like for you, this is how you frame love. Despite carrying them for 9 months, feeling them grow in your stomach, being the thing that sustains them, probably having a painful labor, and still when the doctor places that baby in your arms, to look at it and say that the love that I have for you is only ever going to be a love that's tolerant is just so crazy to me and just kind of repulsive. It's just not very good, doesn't seem like very good parenting. And why it speaks to Jill being this kind of emotionally manipulative narcissist is that the love that her kids feel for her is not at all that way. It's unconditional. They love you because you're their mother and you are everything to them, right? You are their main source of life. They crave your attention. They crave your affection. They crave your approval. Doesn't matter if you have 14, 13 kids or 2 children. That's just normally how being a small young child is, or just being a child. Like, you crave your parents' approval and you want to please them. So it bothers me so much that Jill acts like her kids have this choice when she admittedly is not above withholding loving them if they're not living how she wants them to live. And for her, how they need to live is how she lives. The amount of posts that she has saying that, oh, why do kids go astray from what their parents taught them? And oh, it's rebellion, the spirit of rebellion, which is a sin when you go away from what your parents taught you. Oh, turning away from the old paths, blah, blah, blah. And it's like sometimes those things aren't good, babe. It is what it is. And I want to bring this back to the fact that she shaded the Duggars and the Bates. I just love when I get encouraging messages like this. Praise Jesus. There is still a remnant of Christians that desire to live in accordance with God's word in every way. Hallelujah. Thank you for this sweet message, friend. And the said message, right? Okay. Just wanted to say how much I appreciate your keeping of dress standards. I've seen so many other big families leave what they said they believed and traveled the country singing, and other families with 19 children get worldly once they are on their own. I'm not sure if it's the fame of being on TV or they just never really had the standards their parents had. But thank you for standing up and keeping the word reflecting in y'all's life. So, bitch, over some pants? Like, this is over because they wear pants? Your dress standards. Because people are wearing pants? Or they aren't wearing dresses that go down to their ankles? There is no standard for that in the damn Bible. You have made that up. You and your people, you and your folks in them have made that up. Right? Even just the idea that this biblical verse, or this idea of having to wear dresses, stems from the biblical verse about not wearing clothes that are meant for men if you're a woman, which those things are culturally arbitrary in terms of what is men's clothing and what is women's clothing, right? And just even the idea of wearing pants, how dare she act like this is an abomination, rejecting the standard. They're still dressing modestly. If it's not to your standard, sure, yes, Ginger wears shorts. Jill is willing to wear shorts. But for the most part, to act like this is somebody who is outdressed, like, I don't even know who I could give as an example right now in 2021 of being flagrantly... she's acting like they have on Megan Thee Stallion stage costumes, basically. Like, I can't. And it's just so abhorrent that this is the same person who went and cried, like, why is everybody saying that I'm self-righteous? Honey, here it is. Like, I'm confused, babe. You can't be confused about this kind of stuff. Like, it's wild. And then the amount of the other posts that she had that was just that, like, I don't get why all the haters want me to lower my standards just because they can't be as good as me and live to such a high standard.
Episode 81 of Make Your Life Count Minute with Jill. If you are a Christian and you've had many years to be a Christian and grow in the grace and knowledge of our Lord Jesus Christ, then you hold a heavy responsibility. The Bible says, to whom much is given, much is required. And so we have to be careful not to tear down a righteous stand of those in the lives of those around us. We have to be careful of that. God gives us a free will. He gives us that choice of how we want to choose to live our life. But if we see that someone else is choosing maybe a higher standard, then we need to respect that and not tear that down. But so many times I'll see on social media, Christians will get on there and they will write big, long paragraphs trying to encourage people to lower their standard because you know what? Sin loves company. Right? And we hold a responsibility to not do that. It says in Proverbs 18, verse 21, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Our words are powerful.
Bitch, shut up. Like, that's self-righteous. That is self-righteous. Like, you're so convinced that you are already getting into heaven that you have just all of this time to judge everybody else who is not practicing Christianity as you do. Like, I don't understand. I can't understand that at all. And like, for the Duggars, right? Michelle has said, the most important thing is that my kids have a relationship with Christ. And that relationship isn't necessarily going to look like my own. The convictions that they're going to have from reading the Bible and things like that are going to be their own. And you know exactly, because when they get to heaven, right? God is going to judge them as an individual. So again, just this idea that Jill is trying to tell us that, oh, my kids choose, my kids choose, my kids choose. You have given them absolutely zero space to choose and feel like they can choose. I'm sorry. Stop telling us that they do. Stop it.
Stop it. Get some help.
And like, so with the Duggars and like I said, Michelle, with their convictions, and then what the Bates have said about this topic, and again, I agree, which is that at the time that the Bates were getting into like their extremes of fundamentalism, right, they were doing things very differently than how their parents, who were Christian, who did raise them in Christian homes, raised them, right? And their parents let them have that freedom to practice and be Christians the way that they wanted to, right? And so that's how their parents feel, which is that, you know, the Bates feel, which is like, you know, we did things different, and how can we judge our kids for doing things differently in terms of how they feel convicted, how they feel like how Christ is calling them, right? And just how much more of a support system, therefore, in that the Bates kids have to be individuals. And that is basically what Jill is saying that is terrible, is she's rejecting, is rebellion, right? The idea of being yourself, being your own autonomous person. And while is it true for the Duggars and for the Bates kids that none of their daughters really had the opportunity to do that until getting married? Yes, mostly. Did they still? Yes, that's all I'm going to say. Yes, they did. And so, but still, right, that they aren't being called less godly by their parents for not living exactly how they did. And just this idea that for Jill, that's the end of the world. And that also just like this whole idea, calling these like the kids worldly, the Bates and the Duggars. And I think, yes, I will say that they have definitely become a little bit more worldly, especially the Bates. But it's this weird, interesting, what's the word? I'm blanking on the phrase, but it's like, I guess maybe a double-edged sword where like you want to bring all of these people to Jesus and to Christ as you live it. You are constantly out trying to win souls to Christ, win souls to Jesus. That's why you overshare your life, so we can want to be religious and happy and joyful like you. Yet at the same time, constantly saying that Christians are meant to be unpopular, they're meant to be otherized, there can't be, like, there will never be this large majority of Christians, like it can't be, because how else would y'all feel persecuted? How else would y'all understand and know when things are worldly? How else would you know that you're outside of it if everybody's doing it? So like, it, like, even just this idea that, you know, like, yo, we're not racist, we're not classist, we're not any of those things. When it's like, yeah, you kind of have to be. Like, to some extent, how are you maintaining your separateness from things that are worldly? You know what I mean? Like, isn't like the majority of the world Muslim? You know what I mean? So, like, is that what you're saying you're separate from? Like, I'm a little bit confused. Though I know, like, okay, yes, practicing Christianity in America has reduced significantly. So is that what you're talking about in terms of worldly? Like, I can't understand how you think it could be both. Like, I just, like, they're part of you. And again, like, this, the narcissism of Jill Rodrigues, like, needs to feel special in order to keep doing this, right? Like, this whole post about being under spiritual attack, right? That, and maybe there are people who legitimately send them mean and negative things. I never, of course, do, but here I am making a long video saying, actually, Jill, I think you might be a little bit trash, babe. But Jill, I'm over it. You are, in fact, very self-righteous. And I hope in 2022 you humble yourself before life has to come and humble you. Like, that's what I'm going to say, right? There's power in the tongue. You have the power to speak life and death in the tongue. We've gotten several videos about that, and I personally, that is a strong conviction that I have, which is that there is the power of life and death in the tongue. Like, you speak things in, you talk up things. And Jill, these posts about you being incredibly self-righteous, and that it's going to probably backfire in your face if you keep big upping that, oh, my kids choose, because there's going to come the day when one of those kids chooses not to, right? Her parents only had, 4 kids, 4 girls? there is so much more room for somebody to go wayward in terms of what you think. To think that you are going to be able to rigidly control all 13 of your children is an interesting experiment that we will see play out in the next few years, right? I'm just very over her behavior. It's inappropriate, Jill. It's really inappropriate. It's so self-righteous. It's so judgmental. It's so not Christ-like. Like, she had a video saying Christians are meant to be followers of Christ. So when you're out doing certain things, to be asking yourself, is this something that Christ would do? Do you really think that Jesus would repost somebody bashing another family to encourage himself? Like, you really think that's Christ-like, that is Christianity, that you can go and find biblical verses that would support that Jesus would have done this? I want to see it, babe, personally, because this is just kind of insane to me. All right, but that's where I'm going to leave this video. Jill Do Better 2022, we want to see it. I guess, and this is the last that we're going to be talking about. Nari, I'm so sad about it. So let's just take a moment to wish Nari good things. I hope a nice and happy life for you. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Catch y'all for the next video.